Paul, good to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you too.
We're talking about season 3 of Hacks, and I find season 3 is really interesting because season 1, clean slate. We've never seen these characters before. You develop these characters, you're playing these characters like Jimmy. We've never seen them before. Season 2, we're back. Maybe we know these characters, maybe we don't know these characters, still learning. Season 3 is like when they're really fleshed out, or maybe they aren't fleshed out. What was that like for you and the team returning for season 3, given kind of what I just said about a season 1 and a season 2?
It was actually the most rewarding season because we know the characters now and we've lived with them for 2 seasons and we felt so lucky to be doing a third. And it meant also that because we've established so much of the groundwork and the rules of the world that we were able to get to show different gears from everybody. I mean, I think there's ways you see Jean Smart and Hannah Einbinder really stretch and show different gears, and also for myself and Meg Stalter, who plays Kayla, like we also get to show a different side of our character. So it was very, very rewarding.
Absolutely. I find it interesting because you perform in this, but you're also creative and a writer as well. So I feel like, depending on the writing or the acting, you might have different answers for this. But like, I feel like there's so much that happens before you go to camera on a series or movie, right? So in a lot of ways, from a storytelling perspective, maybe it feels like two separate journeys, right? Before filming and after filming. Or for you with Hacks, does it feel like one big journey with multiple steps?
Yeah, it kind of does feel like one big journey. I mean, it's interesting that because I write the show, but I'm also an actor on the show, it means that I live with the story for a lot longer. And, I'm also then in the edit with my co-showrunners, and it's really, I feel very lucky to be able to do that because I get to uncover things about the character, and I get to prepare for so long that, I feel like I'm able to turn things over and really like surprise myself even and find things, over the course of that journey. So yeah, it does feel like honestly, like a big marathon each season, from when we're initially breaking it and thinking big picture to, when we're doing the final edit and putting music to a scene. It's really an interesting experience that I get to have on the show.
100%. One of my favorite things about your character, and there's some good ones in season 3, is he gets very stressed and like very kind of like freaks out and goes on these big calls and everything, Jimmy. But it's funny because you see him kind of get so flustered, but then you hear the things he's saying, so you're kind of like laughing, like, whoa, like, Jimmy, take it easy. But then you're like, he's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually one of the tricks of the character, I guess, and one of the fun things is that so much of the time he's being put upon, and so he is the straight man and setting up, the other people in the scene. Honestly, whether it's Meg or Jean or even Hannah, but then there's a breaking point, and he gets to also freak out, which is fun. It's fun to also see Jimmy be the character in the scene too, and so that is one of the like the best parts of getting to play the part, is that I get to kind of do a little bit of both. You get to bring the grounded, like, voice of reason to the scene and almost be the voice of the audience, but then every once in a while you get to be like, stop calling me Poppy, or whatever it is. But yeah, this season in particular, I think you really saw a lot of that, which was, it was my favorite season for sure.
One of the reasons why I love Hacks so much is because I'll be watching it and I'll have these moments where I will like crack up and I will laugh out loud and I'm like, that's hilarious. And then I have some moments where like an episode ends and you're like, wow, that hits me hard. Like, these characters are going through so much self-reflection. During the pandemic, we were all at home. We all did self-reflection and everything. So I feel like we watch Hacks and we see what these characters are going through, and it's even more relatable. I'm wondering, like, when you're making it, maybe not, this is more of kind of a creative question, Paul, rather than an acting. Like, do you think about the fact that there always have been kind of serious undertones of a lot of comedies over the past, or is that something that just kind of just happens naturally because you're just following these characters in life, right? Life hits you hard, right?
That's right. I think like the truest things can be the most funny, and oftentimes like the funniest things come out of tragedy, So I think hopefully it just feels it feels lifelike in that way.
Yep.
We do try and keep it grounded. We try for it never to be too broad and never to be melodramatic. We try and really like make sure that tonally, even though it is mixed and there are heartfelt moments and hard, funny moments, we really want it to always feel cohesive and like it would exist in the world. So it's something that we're always thinking about in terms of like the edges
Yeah.
of the material. But yeah, it's the stuff also that I like to watch the most. That is like really hard, laugh out loud funny,
Mhm.
but also has touching moments, has heartfelt moments. Like that, those are my favorite shows and movies to watch,
A
and I've
hundred
always.
percent. I love how you started this interview off saying that like you really kind of know these characters in season 3. So with that being said, obviously we can't go into spoilers and everything, but there's a lot of cool kind of arcs. There's a lot of cool things from characters that we're seeing that we didn't see in season 1 and season 2. Do you feel like there was opportunities to kind of experiment a little bit with the fact that you did know these characters? That you just kind of want to just keep it a little bit even keel?
No, no, no. We really wanted to experiment. One of the things I think for me, especially like as an actor, it like feels the best when you are so excited to go and shoot the scene,
Yeah.
and I think like that only happens if you're doing something new. And yes, you have to do it within like the rules that you set up in the world and obviously within what the character game is. Um but yeah, like it's I think that's true for any actor that getting to do something new and surprising and fun, you really want to stretch. And I think especially in season 3, we get to have everybody in the ensemble stretch and do something different. And, it not only keeps it fresh for the actors in the show, but hopefully it keeps it fresh for the audience and gives them even more. It feels like it would be with anybody that you would get to know more intimately. You just get to see more sides and more layers to them.
100%. How often do you like maybe Paul as the actor, I feel like you try not to do this, but from a creative perspective, a writer, I feel like you always have to because that's the point. But it's like being conscious of the audience member, like while you're making hacks, right? Like, are you ever conscious of the audience member when you're acting, like as Jimmy, or does that only happen mainly like when you're kind of writing and everything? Because you try not to as an actor, but I feel like
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes you might be like, oh wow, maybe people are gonna laugh at this or something.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the North Star for us is like, especially for Lucia and Jen and myself, like my co-showrunners and co-creators and I like really try to make each other laugh.
Mhm.
Like we end up being an audience for each other, and that's true of everybody in the writers' room. That I think like we all want to like make the room laugh, surprise the people in the room, and so that is the audience that we're aware of from the writing standpoint.
Interesting.
We're not always thinking about, I mean, we do think about like certain elements, like will people, I mean, we always think about, for instance, at the end of the season, how it will affect the audience, what
Yeah.
happens between Deborah and Ava, but we try and do the thing that we feel we would want to watch.
Mhm.
That sounds, I guess, like egoist of me or something, but it's just like for us, it I feel like you are making the truest thing if it's the thing that you believe in, and
Mhm.
hopefully people come on that journey with you and want to see that. But then, yeah, as an actor, you do have to forget everything. You have to
Mhm.
just, at least for me, like be in the scene and listen to your scene partner, and which is something that I think I've also had to really like hone that ability because when I wear a lot of hats on the show as a writer, producer, or
Mhm.
director at times, you know, you have to like really compartmentalize and just be in
100%.
there and like forget everything else.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're distracted. You're not really in the scene, and you're not. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have to literally listen and respond. And also for someone like Meg, who is plays Kayla, like because like the scenes are always very alive, and we do ad lib to a certain degree. Like you
Mhm.
have to be in it for it to work.
Yeah.
So luckily, I find that acting is the freest of all of them because when you're directing, you're thinking about the next setup and like if you have time to get another take and all of the things that you have to manage. And
Yeah.
when you're writing, you're even as a writer, you're thinking about like, could we even get the ladies of the View to do this if we write it in? There's a lot of like production things and like honestly, like
Yeah.
there's a lot to keep in your brain, but when you're acting, you're just in the scene, and
Yeah.
that makes it in a way the most fun.
Yeah.
because you just get to be liberated by saying the lines and responding to your scene partner.
That's so interesting you say that, because I'm a creative as well. I just wrapped a few short films that I wrote and produced, and it's so crazy because it's like some of the actors that are in my movies are also producers and writers too, and it's
Yeah.
like they completely turn it, like it's a different thing when they're acting.
I have to.
So,
Yeah, you got to turn it off. You got to turn it off. You can't be like,
yeah,
should we move village because the next setup? You can't be doing that if you're, you know what I mean? If you're going to
100%.
authentically like live in the part. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And then last question before we wrap up. I think, I said that I loved, like, there's many reasons why I love your show. I brought up the fact that I love it because it's, comedy, serious undertones and everything. But, and this is a credit to, you and the whole team, is like the balance and of like these character arcs and developments, but this like story that we continue to see. Like you can have a story, like you've seen a lot of movies and TV shows. You can have a story and it's just a bunch of characters there and like we don't really learn anything about them. You know what I mean? And they're just there.
Yeah.
We have that with Hacks, and that's one of the coolest things. So what was that like, kind of getting that balance of like, we want these characters, we want the story to grow, but we also want people to know about these characters as well. Because I feel like that's a credit to you, man. I feel like that's such a hard thing to do. You hit it out of the park, you and the team, honestly.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, one of the reasons we were like, this is a show that we really believe in and we want to make is because when we thought about it, we thought about the big change that would happen for the characters and the way in which they would grow and they would change over the course of the season, and also the way in which we could sort of reinvent their relationship. Mm-hmm. And it was really helpful to have that planned out because, I think whether or not you believe that people change, they certainly evolve, to a certain degree. And so I think that those are usually the most satisfying stories when you do see that change. And so because we've been able to do that over the course of now 3 seasons, it just feels way more satisfying. And, like, of course, there are great shows that are so fun to watch that are more like sitcom that just repeat the same character games over and over, and you see them in a million situations. And that's something that's like super entertaining and fun. And we all love the great sitcoms, but we wanted to do something a little bit different. And we feel lucky that we've gotten to do it because, it's the story we wanted to see. Yeah. And in addition to wanting to tell it, I'm like, oh no, I want to watch that. I want to watch this person fight for dignity and have her life changed by the other.
Yeah, no, that's so well said. And still some episodes that are rolling out on Max of season 3 of Hacks. It's crazy. It's not done yet, which is really exciting.
Oh, far from, yeah.
Absolutely, no, not even close. Paul, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time. Seriously.
Thank you, Petey.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.